Welcome to Crafting on the Plains. My name is Jacinta, and this is my channel, mostly about kind of cross stitch, but also about other crafts that I get up to, like knitting, sewing, quilting, just whatever crafty endeavors that I happen to be into the last few weeks. So welcome back, or welcome if you are a new viewer. I have taken a little bit of a break. It's been a little bit longer than usual in between my videos. So thank you so much, those of you who have returned, those of you who are patient. I really appreciate you coming back. So the reason that I've been gone for a little while longer than normal is that I have been on vacation. I just returned last week. I returned from a 2-week vacation in Scotland with my family. And we had an amazing time, but yeah, we were there for 2 weeks, and we actually ended up like leaving and coming back midweek. So I just did not get the chance to film or upload a video for, I think it's about 4 weeks now, which is unusual for me. So I do really appreciate those of you who came back to check me out. I am not going to do like a full vacation recap or anything, just because this isn't a travel channel. I'm going to talk, I do have some haul. Almost all my haul is knitting related, so that will be at the end, and I'll talk a little bit about my trip as it relates to the haul. But I do have a finish, I've got new starts, I've got a whip, and then I have got a plan and a giveaway, and like I said, a little bit of knitting haul, a little bit of vacation talk. So I'm going to get into it, but thank you so much again for checking me out or coming back or everything like that. And also I always say this at the top of the episode, so I don't forget, but if you haven't already, please consider liking this video and subscribing. It does definitely help me out, and it will help you see my videos again from YouTube if you are interested in them. So I always appreciate my subscribers. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. It is always so awkward when you are coming back from a break. And so just trying to push through and get into it. I also hope that I am not going to be too hot and sweating in this video, because it is warm here in Oklahoma. It is fully summer at this point, and I did turn off my overhead fan because you can hear it in the video, and I think it affects the lighting as well. So I'm just sitting here hoping that it's fine. So I'm going to do my finish first. And this is a project, this is one of the only projects that I worked on before I left. And then I worked on it when I got back from my trip, and it's actually 2 finishes in one. This is the Be Kind Spool from Crafty Bluebonnet. And then this also has a other bonus pattern that came if you attended or are attending, because I think there's still more happening in Texas, I think this year, attending the Stitching Bee retreat. So this part of it, I think, is available maybe already widely. You can purchase it, and yeah, it's called Be Kind Spool. And this was a kit that you could purchase at the Stitching Bee, and it came with a project bag with the DMCs that you needed, with the fabric that you needed, everything. So here's this one. And then if you attended the Stitching Bee and you bought the kit, then you can get this bonus chart as part of it. And my friend Ashlyn, who is one half of the Red Dirt Floss Works, I always want to call them something else, but I think it's Red Dirt Floss Works. They're her and Bree, I met them at the Stitching Bee 2 years ago. And we all bought this pattern together and started it, as well as a lot of other people at the retreat. And she had finished, I think it was Ashlyn, had finished hers and posted it. And that made me think, okay, I need to pull mine out. And what I actually did was I stitched a lot of this blue fill-in hand sewing method. I don't know. So I had been on a Zoom, I think it was a couple months ago now, with several friends, and a few of them are in-hand stitchers, and they were talking about how they do it, their technique, all these things. And I thought that this, because I had gotten to the point where all I had to do was fill in this blue, and I was kind of just doing it as I went, little by little, on like as I was editing videos, if I had like a Zoom meeting or something, and it just was not getting done. And I thought this would be a perfect thing to practice 1/1 sewing method, because it's 28 count. It's kind of loose. It should just all fill in. And so, yeah, I did it, and it was a little bit difficult at first, but I kind of got the hang of it. And then I ended up doing most of this one as well. 1/1, or not 1/1, excuse me, in hand sewing method. So I did most of this because I have it on the same piece. And I realized if I was doing it in hand rather than on the hoop, then I could just, do some stitching here and then flip it over and do some fill in and then flip it, etc., etc. And so I wasn't just stuck doing nothing but fill in, fill in, fill in. So that was really nice, and I'm really glad I did it. And now I know a new technique, and I'm going to show you in my new start that I was doing a lot of that as well. So really excited, learned a new technique. I don't think that all my projects I'm going to do in hand sewing method. There's sometimes I find if I'm doing fill in or something where everything is like right next to each other, I can, but I struggle to like jump areas with that. I've got to just do one motion at a time. And there's certain just like directions that I struggle getting the right, like getting my needle in the right place when I'm doing the sewing method. So I'm definitely not using it 100% of the time. And I think there's certain projects where it works better than others, but I am really, really proud of myself for learning a new technique and for kind of putting a new technique in my arsenal, because this has been really handy. And so, yeah, this is my finish. And like I said, I use all the called for because I bought the kit, and I am going to be finishing this. I'm going to do it double-sided. So it's going to be kind of like this. I'm going to have to cut it around, and then I'm just going to do a pillow. I don't know if I'm going to do any trim. I don't think it needs trim. I might find some cute little bee pins, bee pins, and stick them in. That might be cute on the pillow, but I'm not really sure yet. Okay, so that's a finish. I have really, really been in the mood to get some things finished. I just have some projects that I feel like are lagging a little bit, and I really want to come up with a way to be getting some finishes while also working on whips and doing new starts. Don't we all? That's all of our goals. But okay, my new start. So my first new start is something that I started on the plane. So I like to have a travel project, and especially if I'm going on a really, really big trip, I love to have a special project that I've started. And I think I'm kind of making it a tradition to have a monochromatic travel stitch going. So the one that I started is Americana Red by October House. So there it is. Now I am modifying this. Okay. I don't like alphabets. I'm sorry. I know that that's like, everyone loves alphabets, but I don't like them. Several people have told me when I said that they also don't like alphabets. So, I appreciate you. I don't dislike stitching them actually. And I like the look of them, but I just don't feel like I need to have alphabets all over my house. And also it makes it a much smaller piece. So I'm actually going to cut it off right here. Like that ish, You get the idea. I'm going to cut it off. So it'll be a much smaller piece, less to frame, less to deal with. I do love these little cherries and these little quilt blocks. And so I'm a little sad that I'm not doing them. I tried to think of a way to move them up, but I just couldn't with this side border and I just didn't want to, whatever. So I think what I'm going to do is after I finish this, I'm going to do the cherries and this little bottom piece, and then the quilt blocks, and probably like figure out a way to extend something over here and do just like a drum, like with just the last couple bands. I think that'd be really cute. And I think that's a thing with these style of samplers, and really almost any sampler, is you don't have to stitch the whole entire thing. I'm trying to, if I see pieces I really, really love, but feel like, okay, I would never stitch that whole thing, or that's way too big, I don't want to, maybe just figure out what is something, because you could honestly just stitch the barn, these two little flowers, the scissors, and that star, and that would be an adorable little pillow. Just that. Or like this little collection of things. That'd be a cute little pillow. So, I mean, you could do a lot of stuff with pieces of this, even if you don't want to do the whole thing. So it's just an idea. Okay, so like I said, I started this on the plane, and I think the last time that I had a piece that I started for a big trip, I actually had started it like the night before so that I wasn't starting it on the plane. And I learned why, because this is what I did. This is where I started. And this is a fat eighth. And I don't know. I just couldn't, my brain just stopped working. I think it was just on vacation mode, tired, whatever. And I, for some reason, thought that I would have enough room to do the project starting at this being the top. And as you can see, this is the actual width. There's no way. There's no way I could have done that. But in my brain, I thought I could. So luckily, I had the wherewithal to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead, because I started in the center. I'm going to go ahead and work my way out to the side and start seeing where it's going to end up. And I would have had like that much border, which is not enough even for me. And I will have some tight margins, but that's too tight. So I don't think I've ever like restarted a project like this. I don't know if that's true, but I don't think I've restarted a project. So luckily I had not done that much. Think I'd watched like half of a movie, in-flight movie, you know. So I just flipped it, and this is where I am. So I will have to unpick this part, as you can see, but here's the whole width. So this over here is not part of the stitch. It's extra. But I'm going to try to fold this up so you can actually see the part I worked on. So there it is, the part that I actually worked on. And I wanted to get completely across to see where I'd be. And now I'm working on kind of this corner, but I do think at some point soon I want to go down to make sure that I have the height correct. But this has been really fun. I have also been stitching this in hand sewing method. I started in a hoop, but then I realized, because I was constantly having to move the hoop because I wanted to go, you know, I kind of wanted to work the band across, that it was just easier to do it in hand. Plus I could pick it up, didn't have to worry about like trying to get the hoop reset like on the flimsy little plain tray table and all that stuff, right? So really, really great. Really enjoyed this. So I mostly stitch on this on the plane. I had stitched on the plane right there and the plane right back. There were some, I took some breaks. I think it's a 7-hour flight because we had to fly to London Heathrow. I think it's a 7-hour flight going. And then because of the winds or something over the Atlantic, it takes longer to get back. And then it's like a 1 hour or so flight from Heathrow we flew into Edinburgh this time. The last time we went, we flew into Inverness. And I didn't stitch on the flight, the smaller flight, just because you pretty much get up to altitude and then come right back down. But there we go. That is my stitching. And I am doing this. This is on a 36 count Vintage Country Mocha, just Zweigart. And I borrowed this floss combination. So this floss is, do I have it right here? This is Dracula by Color and Cotton. And this floss combination, I saw my friend Sarah from Handmade by Sarah W. She is doing a red sampler. It's not this one, but she's doing a red sampler in this floss. And it's a like true red. This, at least on my monitors, is looking really orange. It's a true red to like very, very deep, like not quite black, but a very deep red. And it's amazing. And it looks so good on this vintage country mocha. And she got the color inspiration from Megan the Seattle Stitcher. And their projects are both gorgeous. They're red samplers on this. So as soon as I saw both of theirs, I knew. I actually stocked Color and Cotton. Like every week I would check to see when this was in stock. And I ordered several skeins in the anticipation of doing a red sampler on Vintage Country Mocha with Dracula. It's an incredible combination. I love it so much. And so, yeah, so this is my piece, and I'm doing it 1/2 on 36 just because I want to make sure I have enough thread. And I think my coverage is good. And I think that it, has a little bit more of a prim feel, which makes sense for the sampler. So now that I've pulled this out to show y'all, I want to stitch on it again. But I actually think I'm going to put this away. I don't have any trips planned for like the upcoming future, but I like to have a monochromatic piece to have as sort of like a travel stitch, even if I just go for like a one night like work thing or, little weekend away or something, a family. Like, it's nice to have a project that is really easy. And with this, I can just take one little skein of floss, my stuff, and I always have my monochromatic piece be something that's a paper pattern or something I can print out. That way I don't have to worry about devices and charge and whatever. So I can just grab this stuff and take it to wherever. So this is going to be my new travel project. So it probably won't get done soon, but that's okay because I'm just really enjoying the process of it. And then you have a piece that is sort of infused with all of your travel memories, which is also really nice. So, and then I also want to show you guys something else. This is just sort of random, but I do stitch and knit on the plane. I've done it for, even when I was just a knitter, I always knit on the plane. And for my knitting, I use wooden needles. I have accidentally gone through TSA with metal needles and they were okay, but I never want to have to throw away my needles, like rip my needles out of a project or whatever. And so for my knitting and my stitching, I have these are from Fisker. I just bought them off of, I think, Amazon, but they are TSA safe needles. So what they actually do is you can like fold them like that. So you can fold them up. They're really tiny. They fit anywhere. I also just take these for travel a lot of times, and it's all contained. I've never had an issue flying domestically, internationally with these. And then you can just unfold them and there you go. And I think it's something to do with like the length of the scissors. I think there's probably other snips that you can get through security. I think there's a lot of different ones, but I love these because they fold. So I also know that I'm not going to like reach into my bag and like stab myself on them. I will say they're not like the most sharpest. They're plenty sharp, like when you're actually cutting with them, but the end is a little bit blunter. So if you're looking for, I know some people finish their threads on the top of their piece and use a really, really tiny pair of super, super sharp snips to like get right up on the piece. That I can't speak for whether these would work for that. But if you're just wanting to like snip off some threads, do them for your knitting, whatever, this is a great little thing to grab. And it does have a little like spot if you want to put on a keychain or something, which I've never done, but just wanted to share that because I do get questions about traveling with knitting and stitching, and those are what I've used and I've never had a problem with them. Okay, my next new start is, I'm going to pop a picture, but it is Bobin. So I am stitching this animal cracker with my friend Fanny. She is from the Soul Stitchers Flosstube, and I will link her. She does that with her friend Marianne, and her and I were talking on the Spring Mingle about doing she was stitching, I think, Maggie May, and I was saying how I really want to do an animal cracker, I really want to do Bobin, and so we decided to stitch it together. So I think I need to look and see if she started Bobin, but we didn't have a really solid plan because I was traveling for, like we said, let's start it sometime in June, and then I was traveling, and then I needed to get my kitting together, whatever. So we're kind of stitching it together, but that's okay. So this is my start to Bobin. And I am doing a full conversion on him. I did not want to buy flosses for this small of a project. So I'm just doing a full conversion. I will show you what I've got. I'm not going to list off my flosses because I've only put in 3. And I think it's very possible that some of them might get changed. So if you're interested in my conversion, I think, so I will tell you for Bobin's actual body, I'm using Tin Bucket by Color and Cotton. Is that right? Am I a liar? Gentle Art Tin Bucket. So it's a much darker gray, I think. So my Bobin is going to be a little darker. That's okay. And then I'm using Forbidden Fibers Grige for the other part that I've stitched. And then I sort of looked at the parts that seem like they would most benefit from variegated floss, and then the rest I filled in with just DMCs. So if you're interested in what I'm using, please let me know. I am happy to give you the information. I realize I have a needle in here. I just don't want to publish a conversion if I'm not 100% sure that the flosses work. I'm happy to send it to you, but just with the caveat that I don't know that all these flosses are going to show up on my fabric. This is the one I'm most concerned about. Almond by Color and Cotton. And actually this floss I bought so many projects ago and it doesn't show up on any fabric. So I don't know what the deal is with it. But yeah. So this is my start to Bobin. And I'm stitching this on a 36 count Pictures Plus Sand. And I am doing him 2/2 just because I wanted him to have some nice good coverage. Yeah. And I love him. And this one I am really going to try to get done fairly quickly because it's a small piece and I don't want it to linger. I think I've been bitten by the animal cracker bug because there's so many cute ones. I've been seeing all these cute finishes and I really, really want to stitch some more. So I need to get this one finished so I can start my next animal cracker. I tried to resist. But I couldn't, you guys. So I'm very excited. And I wanted to tell y'all about a new to me Flosstuber. I'm just going to pull up her channel really fast so I make sure I don't misspeak. But I met her at the Spring Mingle. She was in a stitching room that I ended up in and she was so kind. She told me about some retreats. She's actually from, I think like North Texas. And so I'm in Oklahoma, so we're not super far apart. So she was telling me about some retreats that happen in our area. It is Leopard and Lace Co. Leopard and Lace Co. XOXO, and her name is Tammy Clevenger. And yeah, I just love her, her finishes. She's done several animal crackers. She did Bobin. I think it was stitched by someone else and she finished it, but she did Bobin. And I thought her Bobin was so cute. And then the way she finished, there's a little like berry basket secondary piece that goes with Bobin. And on the cover photo, which I will have popped a picture on the screen, it's like just a square. Well, she actually cut it out the way that you cut out the animal crackers. And I thought that was so cute. And then put like a little bow on top. So I might try that, but I will link her below. But definitely she just recently posted a video where she did a ton of animal cracker finishes and I found it very, very inspiring. So check her out. All right. So that was Bobin. And then I had just one whip. just because I've been gone, I hadn't been picking up a ton of projects, but I did have one, and I worked on this one for the summer solstice, and that is Nature's Journey by Sprouting Lupine. This is a year-long stitch along that's happening in Just Cross Stitch magazine. I guess Just Cross Stitch. And it's a 4-part stitch along. So there's spring, which is over here. And then summer is over here. So for summer solstice, I picked up, and then I think I worked on for another day after that. I started working on the summer portion. So that is over here. So I had several parked threads. So the first thing I did was just sort of take care of those. I do have a parked thread over here that because I abandoned working on the spring side. But I just first worked on all my threads that were parked for flosses that I knew I was going to be continuing straight into summer. And then I've been working on this little branch, and then I sort of started working on this little, I think it's some type of like palmetto leaf or something like that. But yeah, I've just been working. I want to work my way down. So I think the next thing I might work on is pick up this and try to get the rest of this little kind of central motif done for the summer portion, just so that I can move on to fall. I did not finish spring, obviously. I think one, I left kind of at the end of spring, but two, it starts getting warm here in Oklahoma. We actually had kind of a colder May than normal. But once school let out and it started getting hot outside, it felt like summer, even though it wasn't officially summer. And I just was no longer in the mood to stitch like a nest of eggs and like little spring things. I wanted summer. So I just really had a hard time picking this up and working on the spring section, but I knew I wanted to save stitching on summer until the solstice. So now that the summer solstice has happened, I think it was last Friday, I did go ahead and I think I put maybe 3 days of stitching into the summer section, and then I will just be continuing on that. I really do want to probably finish the summer section this summer. Now that I say that, I won't, but I think it would be nice to be able to get all the sections finished and then maybe just like finish up spring. Cause I did start spring late. I didn't start it like at the equinox. So my goal is to probably work on this at least like 1 or 2 nights every week, just to kind of like keep progress happening. And this is being stitched on a piece of 32 count. I have the tag on here, which is very annoying, but it helps me remember my fabric. It is 32 count Cobblestone by Atomic Ranch, and it is beautiful. And I've got this gigantic piece. I got actually a fat quarter, and I think it's going to take up, I don't think it's not going to go all the way down to there, but I never trim my fabric until I absolutely have to, because I feel like that helps me maximize my usage of it. So that is my only whip. Okay, I'm going to talk about my only, actually no, I have some haul, and then I'll show you I'll show you my cross stitch haul and my plan, which kind of goes together. And then I do have a giveaway. So, okay, my plan is that July is coming up much faster than I realized it was. It'll be July, it'll be July next week. And my friend Sally and I from Flossy Sews and Grows, we decided back in December that we were going to start We Santa 2023 for Jolly July together. So I don't think we've decided exactly what day we were going to start it, but we did decide to start We Santa, and this is We Santa. And after I had kitted up Bobin from Stash, I was looking through, and this is a pretty small project, but some of these colors, there's quite a bit of fill-in, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough floss to not run out. And so I went through and I looked at my pattern, and I did kind of the same thing that I did with Bobin. So I looked for which flosses I thought it mattered that they were variegated. And I will say that on this one, I mean, every single floss is a fancy floss, a variegated floss, and I don't really know that they need to be. So I just picked up, I'm going to show you which ones I got in case you are also trying to like selectively use your fancy flosses. So I got, which is the coat. I got Weeks Winnie Bee Blue. And then I also picked up, also on the coat, Classic Colorworks Cherry Cobbler. And I got Cherry Tomato. Actually, I'm not really sure why I got Cherry Tomato. I think that that's in these flowers. Maybe that's why I got it. And then I also got Classic Colorworks Spinach. Because it seemed like on these leaves of the flowers, there was a lot of variegation. And so I picked these ones up. And then everything else, I'm just going to use DMC. I'm going to use either DMC that's called for or something close to it. I may have one or two of these other fancy flosses already in stash. And so if I have them, I might use them, but I'm not super worried about it. These were the ones I felt like were legitimately variegated. They weren't just solid fancy flosses. They were actually variegated, and that the variegation was going to show up. And so I just went ahead and bought. I was going to try to do this from stash, but I just wanted to make sure that I had enough because I really love the colors of this piece a lot. Sometimes I love how a piece looks exactly the way it's stitched, and the colors are actually what made me fall in love with the piece. And with this one, the colors are actually what made me fall in love with the piece. So I just decided, rather than making a conversion and not being totally happy, I will buy this. So that's what I've gotten. So I'm very excited to start this with Sally. I'll probably be doing a few other Jolly Delay starts. I'm not exactly sure what yet. I need to look through, see what I've got, but I'm excited to do this one. And then I actually ordered a bobbin to put Bobin on that has not come yet, so I'll show you that when I get it. But I did go ahead and already order that because, like I said, I want to get Bobin finished soon, and I want to finish him into his cute little bobbin finish. And yeah, and then the other thing I actually got from 123 Stitch is, because like I told you, I have been bitten by the animal cracker bug, and sorry about the crinkling, picked up a piece of 40 count, fat eighth of 40 count flax by Zweigart, I assume. Yep. Still in the packaging, but it's flax. You guys know what flax looks like, I think. And this is what a few of the animal crackers are stitched on. I have not done 40 count yet, but I'm going to try it. I have another piece of 40 count that was gifted to me that I have been meaning to stitch something on. And so I am going to try to do the animal crackers on this. Bobin is very small and was charted on 36, but I think a lot of the other ones are charted on 40, and they're surprisingly a lot of stitches, so you kind of have to stitch them small if you want them to be the cute little tiny little shelf finishes. So I felt like this was a good way to get myself motivated to try out 40 count. And then the other tiny bit of cross stitch related haul I got, this was actually from my trip, is I found a little needle minder at a little shop in Inverness. So this is a Nessie needle minder, and this is the company that makes it, in case you are interested in that. But yeah, so cute. I bought this from a little shop called Triquetra Crafts, which is in Inverness. It's in the Victorian Mall, and I've been there. We went to Scotland 2 years ago, and I also went to that store. It's great. It has a ton of, it's like all locally made items, and it is like a lot of souvenir-y, stuff, but it's all locally made, and I love that because then I'm supporting a local crafter. And they actually had cross stitch kits. They were all on Ada and kind of like big count Ada, so I didn't get them. But they had some cross stitch kits. They had yarn. They had a lot of crafty stuff actually. So I was really, and they did not have the cross stitch kits or yarn as far as I remember 2 years ago. So I think that's a new addition. So that's really exciting that they're carrying more crafting related like souvenir items. So that's really fun. And I was so happy to have found this little needle minder, and it was, I think it was like This is about 10 pounds. So very happy. And it seems to be strong. So I will be putting that on a project right away. And then I do have a giveaway. So I am a little bit late to the strawberry moon. I didn't get to start any strawberry stuff in June. By the time I got back, I was like, June's almost over. I'm done. I'm not. I have other stuff I want to start, but I wanted to, as one last June strawberry kind of related thing, I wanted to give away a berry pattern on my channel. So this is Quaker Berry by Erica Michaels. I know a lot of people have been stitching the Erica Michaels berries, so I wanted to go ahead and give this away to somebody. So if you would like to win this, please be a subscriber. Please like the video. Please be over the age of 18, so you give me your address. Don't use any words like free giveaway, free giveaway, prize, win, stuff like that brings bots and whatever. And use the word berry, and then I will draw a winner on my next video, which should be about 2 weeks from now. I am hoping I can get back on my 2-week schedule now that I am back in this time zone. So I will be giving this away my next one. So please, and again, please I say be a subscriber, one, because I want to say thank you to my subscribers, but also because I have had videos where I've given things away and then people have not claimed them. And I'm not sure, because I can't see everyone who's a subscriber, right? So I just have to kind of take it on faith. And sometimes I think maybe it's because they didn't get notified that I had a video up, and so they didn't watch it, and so then they didn't know that they won. And so it's also a good way to make sure you find out when the video is posted, so you can find out if you won. So leave me a comment with the word berry, and then I will ship this anywhere in the world. Because I usually try specifically to give away these half-page size patterns so that they fit in like one of those small manila envelopes, which makes shipping a lot better. Okay, so that is all of my cross stitch. So if you're just here for the cross stitch, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lots of stitchy time, and I will see you in the next video. But if you do want to see some of my knitting haul, then I will show it to you right now. So for my knitting, I actually did do some knitting over the trip, but this video is going to be long enough, so I will show it to you next time. But I did want to show you the yarn I got because I need to put it away. So this backpack right here, this is our hiking backpack that we take. It actually folds up into like a little pouch. And so we take this on trips and then pull it out for hiking. It's like a collapsible backpack. I had a second carry-on, so basically made my other bag like a personal item. I took this carry-on because this is full of yarn. This is all yarn. There's a few other things. That's not true. There's like a couple books and a couple random items, but mostly yarn. So that's okay. So I have got, this is like, I'm telling you guys, this is yarn. My family was making fun of me. But I had to, oh my gosh, I had to. So when we went on our trip, like I said, we flew into Edinburgh, spent a few days in Edinburgh, and then we picked up our car, drove up to Inverness, spent a few days in Inverness. Inverness is, if I could live anywhere on the earth, I would probably live in Inverness, Scotland. I just love like the vibe of the city. It's got like everything you need without being too big, and it's just beautiful, and yeah, I love it. It's kind of similar size. It's a little bit bigger than the city I live in here, like the town I live in now. So it's a really good size. And so we went up there, and then from there we drove out, got a ferry, and we went out to the Outer Hebrides, which I had never been to before. We stayed a couple nights on the Isle of Lewis, and then we drove down and basically ended up doing some island hopping to catch different ferries to get back to where we ended up was the Isle of Skye. And when we were island hopping, we ended up on the island of Berneray, which is a really cool, it's a very small island, very small population, but there is a yarn store on this island. And it was funny because my husband, actually, we were on the ferry and he like sent me a link and he said like, there's a yarn store on this island. And he said, I thought you'd want to go because we had a few hours to kill before our next ferry. So we were kind of like taking a ferry to an island, exploring a little bit. And then like we actually drove across a land bridge to a different island and then got a ferry from there. And so, yeah, there's this just tiny little yarn store. Is so cute on this island, and the lady who runs it, like the store is like this tiny little building that's like out in front of her house basically, and she was actually there was a sign on the door that said like making lunch, just come get me at the house if you want to shop. And so she very happily like opened up the shop for us. I felt bad like interrupting her lunch, but anyway, it's called the Berlin Yarn Company. And I will show you there. So she was showing me all the yarn. She has sheep. And this yarn that I picked up it is called, it's a Hebridean and Cheviot wool. I don't know why this isn't focusing. And so it is a blend of Cheviot, which she said that the sheep that she got the wool for the Cheviot was that those sheep were local to the area as well. They weren't her sheep, but they were like from a different part maybe of the islands. But she said the Hebridean sheep, the wool from the Hebridean sheep was actually her sheep. And I met her sheep as much as you can meet a sheep. When we were, pulled up and we were waiting for her to come open it up, there's just sheep kind of wandering around. And so we got to see the sheep, and my daughter was there, and she was like, yeah, does she want to go outside and like try to pet them and like see them and whatever. So I met the sheep that had this yarn made from them. And she does have some 100% Hebridean wool that I really liked. The Hebridean wool is very surprisingly soft. Usually these more kind of like rustic breeds tend to be very, very like toothy and itchy, but I felt genuinely like the Hebridean wool, I could have worn that by itself next to skin. Absolutely. The reason I picked this one up is because she had samples. So she's also a designer, and she had samples of some sweaters, and there was a gorgeous sweater. I think it's called the Polar Star. I will post a picture of it. And she designed the sweater, and she designed it specifically in this blend of yarn. And I loved the drape, the feel of that sweater, everything. And so I wanted to just do it with the yarn that she chose. So I did a little bit different. She had done it in like a cream color, and she helped me choose what color I wanted. I really, really loved this color. It's called Sea Pink, which also has a name in Gaelic that I am not going to attempt to pronounce because it would be bad, but the English name of it is Sea Pink. And I loved this color, but the sweater has some texture to it. It's actually a pattern that she drew inspiration of from a neighboring island that they had specific pattern that they used. And so she felt like that's where she got the inspiration for the star on the sweater. So I was looking, I wanted something lighter so it would show the texture pattern on the sweater. So she helped me pick out this color, which is called Spindrift, which is a beautiful like sea green. And on my monitor, it's showing very more gray, but it's a very beautiful like sea green color. Kind of, it actually reminds me of the color sea glass, which is perfect color for my island yarn. And so I got 11 skeins of this one. I'm not going to pull out all 11 skeins, but I got 11 skeins of this one so I can knit that sweater. I am going to be casting on that sweater very, very soon. I have a couple projects that I want to get off the needles and be done with, but like the next thing I cast on is going to be this sweater because I'm so excited. So got this. And then I loved this Sea Pink so much that I actually picked up a skein of this one, and these are 50 grams. And then I also got a skein of ladies bed straw, and these are the same blends. And so I got this so I could do like a little color work. I don't know if I'll do a headband or color work like some fingerless mitts or something, but I thought this would look good color work wise, because I just couldn't leave this pink behind. And again, my monitor, I don't know about your monitor, my monitor is not showing this very well. It is a, I don't know, like a purpley mauvey pink. It's like a dark color though. Okay, so that's the majority of the yarn. It was so funny. My husband, like, I think he might have regretted showing me it because I came out with this like giant bag of yarn. But you know, whatever. Oh, I do have some other haul that is more sewing related, I suppose. I pretty much all the souvenirs I bought on this trip were knitting related. This is like an endless bag of yarn. It's kind of hilarious. Okay, so the other yarn I bought this from, there was a little shop in Fort William. We spent a little bit of time in Fort William, not as long as I would have liked, but it's just, you can't with 2 weeks. You can only go so many places, but there's a little shop, I think it was called Caledonian Yarn. And they were super cute little shop, had great like colors, and that was actually what drew me in. Was one, it was a yarn store, but this is West Yorkshire Spinners. It's the Croft, which is 100% Shetland wool. So West Yorkshire Spinners is it's a UK company, but it's based in Yorkshire, but they do source a lot of their wool from Scotland, which was nice. So it was still kind of like a local yarn, even though it was spun in Yorkshire. So this is 100% Shetland wool, which is, I would say this is more toothy and itchy than the Hebridean, but also not as itchy as you would think. This is an Aran weight, and this is in the colorway Halor, I think. Yeah. And I love this. They had a little sample hat, just like simple hat knit out of this, and I thought it was gorgeous with the little pink and purple speckles. So I did go ahead and pick up a skein of this. This is probably gonna be a hat for my daughter because she has been outgrowing all of her other hats. So I'll hopefully pop this on the needles sometime before next winter and have her little hat, and it'll be a very warm hat because it is Aran weight yarn. And then the other thing I bought when I was on the Isle of Lewis was they had a Harris tweed there. And I'd seen other Harris tweed shops because they're kind of all over, especially the more, I think, kind of like downtown areas where you'd have more tourists. In a lot of places in Scotland, they have a lot of shops. But this one was actually on Lewis, which is the attached island to Harris. And they had like bolts of fabric, and they also had remnants for sale and all kinds of stuff. So I had to check it out, and I ended up getting some tweed wool fabric. I'm very excited. So this is produced on the Isle of Harris, and it's really cool. So this color I fell in love with. I'm obsessed with this color. It's a herringbone that's like pink and aqua, and then it has these like checks of purple and like a periwinkle blue. Stunning, stunning. And I think this was like a 1/2 meter. I think. That feels right. I can't remember. I think this is a 1/2 meter. And so I love this. It's so pretty. Don't have any idea what I'm going to do with it. I need to make something out of it, or else it's going to become one of those things that's like too precious and then it just languishes forever. And then they also had these little bundles. These I think are, I can't remember, but they're like little squares, basically, is the deal. They're like little squares. So this one my daughter loved. I was kind of in between two of them. And this one is, it's coming off very red, but it's like a pinky bundle. It's like a pinky bundle, and you can see there's more of that. Really pretty. I love the herringbone, like the multicolored herringbone. And then there's like a more kind of checked, like a kind of a plaid type of one. And I actually haven't even opened this all up to see what all of them, you can kind of see there's like one that's just sort of like solid mottled color. It's looking very blue, but it's actually quite purple in person. So love this. They also give you like authentic Harris tweed labels. They're tucked in here. I don't want to pull them out because I'll lose them, but they give you little authentic Harris tweed labels when you purchase fabric so that you can put it on your project and you can like show that it is authentic Harris tweed that you used, which is really, really cool. Absolutely love that. And I think that she gave me, from Berlin Yarn Company, she gave me some labels as well, which was really awesome. I've never seen that done here in the US where people give you labels, but that's brilliant. So I love that. So anyway, so that's my giant bag full of like craft supplies that I purchased while I was overseas. I had so much fun. I will link this shop below because she does have a website. She has a Ravelry. I believe you can purchase her yarn. I'm trying to remember if you're in the US if she's on Woolly Thistle or not. Or her yarn is sold by Woolly Thistle. I'm not sure, but I will link her below. Because like I said, I was very impressed by the softness of the Hebridean wool. It's not a superwash merino, guys. Like, just want to make that clear. It's not a superwash merino, but it was not as like itchy. I mean, I'm like touching this and it doesn't bother me. So I was very impressed by that. Okay. So that's everything. I'm just like surrounded by, by yarn right now, and that makes me very happy. So, that's everything that I have to share and show with you guys. I really appreciate it if you stuck around this long. Remember to enter the giveaway if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next couple weeks, and I hope that you get lots of crafting time in.